counter-attack, and as soon as he started to accelerate, they were right onto his wheel.
Well, O'Grady looks over his shoulder. Da Cruz will be very, very happy if this bunch was to close up on them now, because it would put Baden Cook in with a real chance of winning. And Cook, for my money, is sprinting better every day. He won one stage, stage 2 of the race, and now he's wanting to build on that green jersey. 15 seconds, the first time check. We are 12 kilometres to the finish, 12.5 actually, as Juan Flecker is now clear in his first Tour de France. This will be a huge victory for Ibernesto too, Paul, because they also are looking for a reasonable tour right now.
Spain have had a win so far, and that went to Ibn Mayo, the Euskaltel-Euskadi ride, and that was on the slopes of the Alpe d'Huez, the great shrine to the climbers. But if they can win a flat stage before they go down into the Pyrenees, it would relax everybody in the team. Stuart O'Grady in that group behind Phil will be a very marked man, because everyone knows he's a great finisher, and everybody knows he wants to win here because he's a local rider. Although he's from Australia, when he's based in Europe, he's actually his home turf is actually just outside of Toulouse, and every time he goes to the front, the riders will be looking for him trying to launch the attack.
Well, the way they've slowed down now, the gap is at 1 minute 49 approximately, coming down all the time. And remember that that's on the leader. These are closer. They're only 1:35 ahead of the peloton. There's Da Cruz sitting at the back now, contributing nothing because he wants to see the bunch return, and the green jersey of Baden Cook, another Australian, to take the day. That would be the ideal plan for this rider sitting behind Stuart O'Grady. And there's Michael Rogers' hand up in the air now. He's called his team car, I think. I'm not sure, Paul, if they're allowed to deliver water to him now or not. We're back up with the leader. They certainly aren't allowed to under the regulations. At 11 kilometres to go, that might be the 10-kilometre banner just there. I think it is. So that's 6 miles to the finish. And this, on a day like this, would be an amazing result for a Spanish rider, more likely to be seen in the mountains, winning what is a comparatively flat stage.
Well, a couple of years ago, the man who leads right now, Juan Antonio Flecker, was regarded as the next big Spanish hope with 5 wins. And here's a counter-attack coming from the back of the group here. It's like Rogers decided. In fact, the reason he was putting his hand up there, I think, was to pretend that he wants to go and talk to his team management. And then that put him at the rear of the field, and he's just attacked everybody with the attack from rear position. And he's got a good lead too. Somebody's gone with him.
Well, this is now the splitting of the breakaway. If they don't take up the race very quickly, the gaps will open. This is Da Cruz again. He's a marking man now. He's not interested in getting this breakaway clear of the field because it's important the bunch catch up as far as he's concerned. The points are at stake for Baden Cook in that green jersey competition. Here come the counter moves. This had to happen. This is the way it had to go.
And that was O'Grady there, just trying to launch himself off the front. He can feel the stage victory disappearing away from him this afternoon. As we look down here, this is Da Cruz in second position, and he is in fact collaborating with Michael Rogers in the blue and white jersey in second there. He's riding for the Quick Step Davitamon team. It's a very complicated situation right now because you have one lone leader, Juan Antonio Flecker, leading these two guys by 22 seconds. They actually have to work together right now, almost as teammates, to try and pull back the Spaniard who's on his own. But you can see Da Cruz is doing what they say in the sport of cycling. He's glass cranking. He's pretending that his pedals are made of glass and he doesn't want to break them.
Yeah, now this is the peloton coming through. Yes, it is. Now they're going through at 10 kilometres to go. And they are closing in, which is what Da Cruz wants. Flecker is running for his life, though, and he might do it, you know. Just looking here, the work being done by Lotto now. Here he is, Juan Antonio Flecker, a Spanish rider winning a flat stage of the Tour de France. He might now. We are taking our break, and then we'll be back for the big finish here on OLN. See you in a moment. And welcome back, and he's still clear. 7.6 kilometres to race. He's through the S's here now. This is Juan Antonio Flecker of Spain going for the win. Just looking down the road here, Paul, the breakaway is in desperate straits. We are getting a time check now of 1:33, but that is on the rider at the front of the race, not on the men in between who are now fragmented. And I'm just wondering if indeed Michael Rogers can reach the leader here along with Carlos Da Cruz. The spread, though, is now desperately close. It's going to be a grandstand finish in Toulouse. I think we're sure of that.
Well, De Cruz and Michael Rogers here are trying to pull the gap back, and in fact there's been a change in the attitude of Carlos De Cruz in this group, because he has in fact decided to come to the front and start to collaborate with the Australian. These are the 5 chasers right now, and they're only about 10 seconds behind. It's such a complicated situation with 1 leader, 2 chasers, and then 5 chasers caught out, and the man really caught out there in the Australian national champions jersey, Stewie O'Grady. He must be kicking himself, but he won't do that much to try and chase back his compatriot Michael Rogers, I shouldn't think. Although, look at that. You get a chance to see just how close. That's no longer 8 seconds at all.
Those 5 are going to make 2, and that'll be 7 of the original 8 are back together once they come across. And that will leave just 1 Antonio Flecker out front. And the peloton, about 1:33, and they might well have misjudged this, the peloton. I think, you know, they might well stay away because of the attacks that have come in the last few kilometres. And if 1 Antonio Flecker wins, it will be a surprise to everybody. But he's worked for today. If he stays away to the end, it'll be just under 100 kilometres. This breakaway will have led the race. And again, another case where the workers deserve their success.
But right now, all he's thinking about doing is concentrating on his pedaling action, keeping the speed, and he will look down at his computer every now and again and try and ride on 50 kilometers an hour, but the body will be screaming out because of the pain. But when you're in a situation like this and you've got the possibility of winning a stage on your own, you can give it just that little bit more. You can go 110% because you know you haven't got a passenger sitting on your wheel thinking about how to outfox you when it comes down to the sprint at the end.
Good roads now, great run into Toulouse. We're not going into the big city because it's in turmoil. They're building a new metro line there, which is a subway, but they're coming out to the airport, a small airfield, at 5 kilometers to go. They're still chasing those 2, these 5. This could be, and now Rogers has got very annoyed there with Carlos De Cruz, who would not help him out in the break. De Cruz does not want to help anybody, and we've seen it out on the course today. He packs a pretty good sprint finish as well, but he really wants the peloton to catch up and give Baden Cook a chance at scoring maximum points in that green jersey competition. Well, I don't think that's going to happen. 1:29 back to the field now, 7 chases 1.
Well, these guys need to get themselves organised because the lone leader is riding completely his own tempo, and he's not slowing down at all. It's a steady tempo that is not being affected by accelerations and decelerations. He's looking now at 4 kilometres to go. He needs to keep this effort going, Phil, for 6 minutes.
Well, the reason I'm laughing, we're sat next door to the great Pedro Delgado, a Spanish rider, of course, who won the Tour de France in 1988. He's as amazed as we are that a Spanish rider is winning what is a flat stage, and he's got his wristwatch in his hand, and he's doing his own time checks here.
He's keeping a close eye on the time checks at the individual banners indicating how far to go. And there's another counter-attack gone from the group of 7 here at 4Ks to go to try and bridge the gap across to Juan Antonio Flecker. It's 22 seconds the difference between him and the group of 7. It's Bram de Groot, 3rd in Marseille a couple of days ago, who's taken up the chase, but he realizes he's not going to break the stranglehold of Michael Rogers and Stuart O'Grady.
No, they've come back together once more. They're going just below the level they require to go to bring back Flecker. Flecker is up in the distance there. He's looking for 3 kilometers to go as we make our way to the airport for the finish. 20 seconds. He's nudging out a little bit, but they brought it back. It was 25. The peloton are closing in. It's 1:22 to the peloton. You know, the long straight runway, and if they go fast enough they could get lift-off, but that's where the finish is today, on the runway, and everybody now is waiting for the arrival of the Tour. This group here has torn each other apart, but they're not getting closer quick enough to 1 Antonio Flecker.
And once they start this tactical maneuvering right now, jumping across the road,
that's De Cruz.
This is a bad move.
Is it
De Cruz is on the right-hand side,
no, it's not
and
De Cruz.
That, in fact, is the Francis de Jeu, the AG2R rider, Nicolas Portal.
Portal, and I couldn't pot that jersey. Nicolas Portal has gone. He's riding his first Tour de France. He's never had a win in his life. He's had a bid, and now they're on him straight away. So there are 3 kilometres to go. I think that was 3 kilometres to go, Banner. And the peloton hovering now. 1:25, the latest check coming in from Radio Tour. Back together again. It's infighting now, Paul. All this is helping Flecker.
Well, these guys are just manoeuvring each other all the time. This is Nozal now trying to go. O'Grady's been caught out, and in fact that attack went straight by Stuart O'Grady on the right-hand side of the road. It looks as if nobody wants to collaborate with Stuart O'Grady because they know he's got a fine finishing sprint, and they know how dearly he wants to win here in the outskirts of Toulouse at this very famous aerodrome.
24 seconds. He's still nudging away, you see, because they're sprinting, marking, slowing down, sprinting, marking, slowing down. This man is keeping his speed up in the region of 28 miles an hour and not worried about what's going on behind. He's starting to dream of a win in the Tour de France at 2 kilometers to go. This will be the biggest moment of his career. We can expect a lot of punching of the sky if he gets there. He's not racing for the yellow jersey. He's racing for the stage win in the Tour at Toulouse. Not many Spanish win stages on the flat. Another attack has gone.
A couple of riders.
I think it's Bram de Groot who's gone down the road. Let's find out. Being chased there by Carlos de Cruz. This might be O'Grady. It's O'Grady. Oh, we're going further. This is still de Groot here on the attack.
This is Nozal.
It's a pink jersey, so it's Isidro Mazel. Now he's got a good turn of speed. O'Grady's so desperate now to get a result here. Has taken up the chase himself. Now this is a determined move.
It's a determined move. This man has sat at the back of the group on a number of occasions trying to just get a little bit of energy back into his body, and what he's trying to do now is bridge a 20-second gap inside of the last 20 seconds. Just caught a quick glimpse of the red cars in front. That is the car of the referee, who was right behind the lone leader Flecker for the moment. O'Grady is caught in no man's land. He will dig deep and try and get himself to the tail of the Spanish rider here and hope that he can still get himself a victory. There's O'Grady, slowly but surely nailing across that gap. A little bit further back, this is the man from AG2R. This is Nicolas Portal, who's in fourth position on the road. In fact, that's Cuesta, Inigo Cuesta. We're inside the last 1.5 kilometers, but I tell you what, the last kilometer is a long straight road into a headwind.
Yes, and this man has got to drive on now because the banners are in the distance. The breakaway is safe. They're not going to be caught by the big bunch in the Tour de France today. They are going to race out 9th place. I'm sure of that now. This man has 1,000 meters to go for what will not only be his biggest victory, but probably the biggest surprise for the Ibanez team. It is a superb result here for Juan Antonio Flecker.
Still looking very good. You see him just looking underneath his arm there. He was looking to see if there were any shadows behind him. The red car is the referee's car. He looks back. He's a true professional. He wants to make sure that nobody's going to make a surprise comeback, and he's still got a lot of power in those legs, but he is worried about the return of the rest of the group behind him. He's still got 15 seconds advantage over Nozal, the Spanish chaser.
When is 1,000 meters longer than 1,000 meters? When you're riding the Tour de France and winning your own, but the peloton chasing you down, or the bunch of riders in this case. He is checking, because he's got no more speed left in those legs. And that banner, will it ever come towards him here? Because he wants a long time to enjoy himself. I feel pretty sure of that. This is a wonderful victory for Spain and for Juan Antonio Flecker. There's a massive crowd here. There's the bunch behind. They're still coming at him, but he's starting to smile. That is still Nozal, who's coming up behind there. I think he's going to hang on, but he still needs to do it. It is going to be a very, very difficult finish, as this is the moment of celebration, the biggest win of his life. He turned professional in the year 2000. Look at that. Straight as an arrow as Bram de Groot comes clear. Third into Marseille. He's getting closer. Second into Toulouse, ahead of Nozal. And then comes the race. Then comes the race for fourth. This will be the Cofidis rider, who is finishing Inigo Cuesta. He's normally a climber as well. There's the pack coming at them. Da Cruz finishes off, taking on O'Grady. He's beat him every day, and it makes no difference. He's beat him again at the line. Now the lead-out men here, the boys in green, but here comes the white jersey of Bradley McGee. Now we're looking for the green jersey of, and it's on the far right of Baden-Cup. He wants the 9th place finish for the big points, shoulder to shoulder with McEwen. These two riders, and McEwen got it this time. Revenge is sweet for Robbie McEwen. He pips him on the line. The big three, Paul, because Zabel was right behind him. And they're in the pack, safe and sound. All of his 21 seconds now will go to the time trial tomorrow with Lance Armstrong, still the leader of the Tour.
Well, Armstrong will be very happy with the day this afternoon. He's not had to put his team under a lot of pressure, and he's been able to ride his legs in for the individual time trial tomorrow. But what a great win for Spain. This man, Juan Antonio Flecker, was regarded by Ibanez.com a couple of years ago as the great star of the future, which is why they brought him across. But this, in fact, is his first win for a couple of years, and it's his first win in the Ibanez.com colours.
Yeah, absolutely great result there for Flecker, and also for the green jersey of Cook. Well, the rider split up. Look at this. Delgado indicated to me, he said, watch him do his draw of the bow touch. He releases the arrow. He's the winner of today's stage of the Tour de France. Note the name as we take a break. Well, we look through the heat haze here of the airfield at Toulouse, and we see a Spanish rider checking over his shoulder to make sure everything is clear for him to enjoy the last few moments of his first ever stage win in his very first Tour de France. Juan Antonio Flecker of the iBernesto.com team is the winner today, and this will do his team lead also the world of good here. As we look down now around the city of Toulouse, we can look at the Pacific Life stage results. And there they are, Flecker getting in just 4 seconds before Bram de Groot and Isidro Nozal, then 15 seconds over Inigo Cuesta, 23 seconds over the rest. As we look down at the big pack here now on the airfield, waiting really to start the prize presentation. The vast majority of riders are now in. Well, good news for Lance Armstrong. He's now been the race leader of the Tour for 4 days, Paul. Tomorrow, after the time trial, presuming he still leads, I think he joins Jacques Anquetil with 51 yellow jerseys.
Merci beaucoup.
The Spanish arrow. Quite remarkable. A great win by this man. And in fact, I just learned just a few moments ago that his girlfriend actually works here in Toulouse. So he had a special reason for trying to win here on the streets of Toulouse. A great win by him. And confirming the reasons why iBernesto wanted to bring him on board, Phil, because he is a very good bike rider, capable of performing well in the mountains, and today he proved that he could do it on the flat stages as well.
Well, it might well give iBernesto a leg up in the team race here too, because he gets the best time of the day. He'll have 2 teammates, don't forget, in that main field as well. Poor old Bram de Groot, he was 3rd in a breakaway that came down into Marseille 2 days ago, day off yesterday. He's now got a 2nd place, and Rabobank are desperate for a good result. A great battle indeed for the race for the green jersey between 2 fabulous sprinters from Australia. It's been a while since Robbie McEwen got the better of Baden Cook, but he did this time, although it's only for a single point. So as we look now at across the airfield here, the home of the Airbus, which was designed and built here in Toulouse. It's a very famous passenger carrier for France, and home of the very first French Concorde as well. But that's going back nearly 40 years. I can't believe that.
It really is quite remarkable to think that there's so much history here in the aeronautical industry for Toulouse, and a bit of history too, I think, for Spain, getting that win there for Juan Antonio Flecker. I feel a bit sorry for Stuart O'Grady because he really wanted to win that race today here in Toulouse.
Well, as we now know, Flecker's girlfriend's here, so we'll be able to take her out for dinner tonight and share the prize money. He gets about $5,000 for the victory today. But we'll have a look, I think, if we can now, at the overall situation in the race. There shouldn't be much change here, because Lance Armstrong has conserved all of his 21 seconds. Everybody that mattered in this race stayed together in the pack. Nobody gained or lost time. So tomorrow they go to the time trial like this. 1 minute 2 seconds back to 3rd placed Iban Mayo as well. Mayo's got to do a real good time trial tomorrow, because he knows he's got to try and just keep Armstrong in his sights, because he reckons he can give him a good run for his money once we go into the Pyrenees. There's the beauty of Toulouse from the air. Probably the best way to see this rather busy city, Paul, because it's not so easy to move around it by car. And there's the image, straight as an arrow, as Juan Antonio Flecker wins the day. We're going to take a short break and then rejoin us for the prize presentations. 2 fists in the air. Now all he's got to do is come and take his prize. I'm sure he'll get a big round of applause here. Stay with us on OLN. Welcome back to Toulouse. The Tour de France has arrived. The winner, Juan Antonio Flecker of the iBernesto.com team. He is, of course, Spanish. The 95 miles now completed. And he, in his first Tour de France, has taken out his first ever stage win. Well, as we look down at the rider here celebrating, he looks over his shoulder to see another Spanish rider, Nozal, coming in, but he'll finish behind Bram de Groot. And the big battle between the top sprinters, that they had to contest it for 9th place, taken out by Robbie McEwen, who gains very slightly over the green jersey holder Baden Cook, and just behind came Eric Zabel. But this is the scene at the airport here. No aeroplanes coming in, I hope, because we're on the runway with this finish today. He's had a marvellous moment. But for Lance Armstrong, he's now had the yellow jersey for 4 days, Paul, and he is now the man who is going to hopefully sock it to them tomorrow, because he is the master of the time trial and he needs to prove to everybody that he is going good.
I think the most important thing for him, in fact, is to convince his team that he's got fine form as well, Phil, because he needs to open up the time gaps. In the past, logically, he's always put time to Vinokourov and to Jan Ullrich. Jan Ullrich, I think, will be the man who will seriously challenge Armstrong in this individual time trial. Yeah. And it is a tough time trial. It's shorter than usual, but there are 1 or 2 difficult undulations. But the advantage, again, Armstrong has been here and he's looked at it on several occasions.
Yeah, I think this is the big thing. But I'm hearing now, I think that Frankie Andreu has managed to get Lance Armstrong out of the melee of people down there. So I'm going to try my luck. Frankie, are you with Lance?
I'm with Lance Armstrong. Lance, very windy, crazy day. How was the start?
The start was windy. It actually died down the second half of the race, but in the beginning it was blowing. You know, then strange because you have a rest day, so everybody's legs are sort of stale after that, and then you have this massive wind and guys going all over the place. It was scary, but we felt good.
You said a couple days ago tomorrow could be the most important time trial of all the tours you've done. Can you explain that a little more, and why? Why this year?
Because it's different. I mean, it's different. It's later in the race. The classification is obviously a lot closer. And it's whatever happens tomorrow. I think will dictate what happens in the mountains. And it's just unique in that we haven't done one this late in the tour in a long time.
Okay, thanks a lot, Lance.
Yeah, thanks.
Well, we're looking here now at the routes of the time trial face. We start in Gaillac, in fact, and we finish in Cap de Couvert, which is an open cast mining area they're now trying to renovate and republicise as a touring area. It is a tough area. There is plenty of undulations, and a very, very hard day, I think, is forecast for all of the 170 survivors. This man won't be thinking too much now of winning the time trial. There he is, Juan Antonio Flecker, winner of stage 11 of the Tour de France. And, you know, he looked at the sky there. He can't believe he's standing in this position, but he earned it. He went on his own and proved to us he could ride a very good time trial, given the right shot. Nice, generous congratulations there, too, from Bernard Hinault. And I think we can have a look at the Pacific Life stage results. As at the moment, we're gazing down on the cruise ships down here in the centre of Toulouse. There we are. Juan Antonio Flecker, the winner today, 3 hours and 29 minutes for nearly 100 miles. That's fast. Bram de Groot at 4 seconds. This is, by the way, at the moment, a record-breaking tour. If it continues like this all the way to Paris, Isidro Nozal taking 4th. Carlos de Cruz had a very good day, spoiling tactics at the front there for Baden Cook. Didn't quite work out for him because they never caught up. Stuart O'Grady 6th. This is all the breakaway right down to Michael Rogers. Then at only 42 seconds, McEwen got the better of Baden Cook. Now, on the left there, you might recognise him, Terminator 3 is Arnold Schwarzenegger here, presenting the Maillot Jaune to Lance Armstrong. Schwarzenegger's new film, Terminator 3, will be launched here or premiered here in France in mid-August. I bet you he's been very impressed with the way these boys ride a bike race, Paul.
He's been out on the course today in one of the organisation's cars, so he's seen the race from the best seat, the ringside seat, and up alongside a man who's done an awful lot for charity, Lance Armstrong. Arnold Schwarzenegger himself, a very good man, looking after the Special Olympics.
So as Lance Armstrong really warms to the occasion as being the Major, he's worn this jersey now for 4 days. He's running close to becoming a member of the top 4 club for the most yellow jerseys in his Tours de France. The record is held by Eddie Merckx, but he's right up against Jacques Anquetil now, and soon will pass him this week, I think.
Armstrong receiving the accolades of all the people from the area around here in Toulouse. The man on the left-hand side, Bernard Hinault, a winner of 5 Tour de France's, and Armstrong, I think, Phil, looking a lot more relaxed than he did in the Alpine passes, and I think tomorrow he will put himself right up at the top there with the individual time trial. It's a race where he's specialised over the last few years, and since that bad day on the slopes of the Alpe d'Huez, I think he's back on top of his game plan.
Well, we look at Toulouse. I think we can now have a look at the overall classification. It's not going to look any different than it did at the start of the day. All of the riders finishing together. Vinokourov 21 seconds off Lance Armstrong. Might be bigger tomorrow, but you know, when you're near the top, you ride good time trials. Iban Mayo 62 seconds behind. Mancebo, Tyler Hamilton. We expect a good time trial out of Tyler Hamilton, and maybe he'll rival Lance Armstrong. This is going to be an extremely good race, that's for sure, as we go now into the first big time test of this year's event. Further down, Jan Ullrich. I've got a feeling this man is going to deliver somewhere along the road, and I think he's warming to the occasion. Basso can also do a good time trial, and we know that Heymar Zubeldia can, as we saw in Paris, where he finished 3rd in the prologue. And Denis Menchov will keep his top position as the white jersey leader of this Tour de France, the Russian still sitting there in 10th place overall. We'll continue with our look at the end of today's stage of Tour de France as soon as we come back after this short break. And we'll also get a glimpse of the green jersey wearer, Baden Cook. And we're looking now, welcome back to the presentations of the Tour de France. This is Baden Cook, who's lost a point of his lead, but it's still a clear lead at the moment over Robbie McEwen. Great battle there between the 2 Australian sprinters. But this has been a marvellous stage of the race if your name is Lance Armstrong, because you've had something of a rest in that big peloton, and that, you know, is what Lance Armstrong wanted on the eve of this incredibly important first long time trial.
Well, I think he himself puts the right words on it, because he says it's probably the most important individual time trial of the last 5 years. It really is going to be a big day.
All right, who's going to win tomorrow?
Armstrong.
Oh, you're sounding like Bob Roll now.
I'm trying to.
Well, certainly that's the way Armstrong would like it to go, but there are some good time trialists in this race, and of course the Pyrenees to follow. This has been a very good race so far. Now we've got a man whose name is Flecker, which we think is the Spanish word for arrow, because Fletcher is the word in English, and I think that's why he made that sign. He was shooting the old arrow into the sky as he crossed the line. So I think that's about it from Paul and me now, because it's time to hand back to Kirsten Gum and to Bob Roll, who are enjoying the sun out there on the eve of what is going to be a fantastic time trial.
Phil and Paul always make it sound like we're not doing any work. That we have the better half
Where's
of
the
things
love,
here.
fellas? Come on.
Well, you heard them also talk about Lance Armstrong. They're predicting for Lance Armstrong to win tomorrow's time trial. Arnold Schwarzenegger had me a little worried there. He needs to be very careful with the man in yellow. He was like raising his hand, pulling him up. You could see Lance kind of like, okay,
Very
back up, Arnie.
enthusiastic, yes.
Let's talk about tomorrow's individual time trial.
A big stage on the tour tomorrow. Obviously, there's been a team time trial and a couple of days in the Alps to blow the GC apart and give us a picture of who's the strongest. More importantly, we've lost perhaps Lance's top challenger so far in the Tour, Yoshiba Boloki, as well as a lot of other top bikers, especially a guy called Heitor Gonzalez from the Fossa Bortolo team. Stefano Garzelli has also dropped out, and Levi Leipheimer from the Rabobank team. So not a lot of our pre-race favorites still left in the race, but there are a few that are going to be very hard to beat for Lance Armstrong tomorrow. I think primarily Jan Ullrich will be very tough to beat in the time trial. He is just, I think, waiting for this opportunity, and we're going to see him come out of the woodworks really and do a scintillating time. I think Jan has been saving a lot of his energy just for tomorrow's stage, and it's going to be very tough for Lance to beat him. Lance has done some great time trials so far this year, and it seems as if the preponderance of his training has gone for power. He's not as great on the climbs, but I think he's going to be a very good time trial. But wait for Tyler Hamilton.
Yeah.
I'm going to predict that those two riders, Hamilton and Ullrich, are going to beat Lance Armstrong, not by very much, but they're going to be ahead of him in the time trial at the end of tomorrow.
Bob, I'm writing this one down here because I want to hold you to it here. Tyler Hamilton and Jan Ullrich. All right, let's look at the time trial for tomorrow. We're looking at 47 kilometers, around 28.5 miles, and pretty hilly.
A bit of a hilly time trial. It starts in Galiac and goes to Cap de Couverture. It's 47 Ks, so almost 30 miles, but there are some climbs out on the course, and it's just going to be a very tough event, especially if there's going to be some wind out on the course. Of course, Lance Armstrong, living not too far away in Spain, has come up here and had a lot of chances to see the course, and he'll be very primed. It's going to be a great stage tomorrow, fantastic stage.
Wouldn't you say that the route is more primed for Lance Armstrong than it is Jan Ullrich? Will Jan have problems with it tomorrow?
No, he won't have any trouble. He's going to have some good form tomorrow. Watch for a huge battle on the roads of France. The best one. We've seen some good ones, but the best one yet.
Well, the action continues here on OLN with Stage 12 tomorrow, the individual time trial. We're going to be live tomorrow at 9 a.m. You can also catch our primetime coverage. That's beginning at 8 p.m. with Bob Roll and myself and the pre-race show. Of course, our coverage of Stage 12 continues at 8:30 until 11 p.m. tomorrow. And you can always check on our website for updates and information, also for articles from Bob Roll, Phil Liggett, and Paul Sherwen. That is olntv.com. We are the official English language website of the tour. So we will see you tomorrow. For Paul, Phil, Bob, Frankie, Pam, and our entire OLN crew, I'm Kirsten Gum saying good night. We'll see you tomorrow.